Intro to Python Libraries. When programming, there are many resources available to assist in the development of your code. In this unit, you will learn about two. Libraries provide pre-written code to use in programs, and application programming interfaces, or APIs, provide an interface to enhance connectivity. You will learn more about these later on. A library in a programming language is a collection of related routines that a program can call upon to use. Since a library is already created, a programmer can assume that if used correctly, the routines invoked will work. In Python, a library is a collection of modules. A module is a Python file that contains code that you can import into your program and use. There are modules that you've been using most of this course without even knowing it. Commonly used Python modules include math, random, and string. Programming modules contain pre-written code in the form of global variables and procedures that are available to the programmer. Oftentimes, modules may need to be imported into a program before using any procedures from the module. This is done with the small addition of an import statement at the beginning of a program, which saves the programmer a great amount of time and effort. The import command is necessary in order to denote what module will be getting used. The statement is usually written at the top of the program with import followed by the name of the module being called. Some examples are below: import random, import matplotlib, import math. Note, it is not necessary for all import statements to be at the top of the program, only that it comes before the use of a function in that module. Let's work with the math module first. This module is helpful for basic math functions, but it can be slow and is not recommended for completing complex mathematical functions. There are a few math functions in Python that you're familiar with already because they don't need an import command. These include, but aren't limited to, min, which finds the minimum of the arguments given, max, which finds the maximum of the arguments given, abs, which returns the absolute value of the argument given, pow, x comma y, returns x raised to the y power. For more advanced math functions, we need to import the math module. The math module has a variety of useful functions. As previously stated, this module is not the fastest resource to calculate complex mathematical problems, nor the most efficient, but it is worth knowing. To call its built-in functions, write the statement below at the beginning of the program. Import math. The module contains functions such as GCD and factorial. GCD finds the greatest common divisor of the arguments given, also known as highest common factor, and factorial finds the factorial of the argument. Notice the module name followed by a dot, then the function being used. This notation is necessary because the function we want is in the math module and therefore must always preface the function called. For more math module functions, click here to access the online Python documentation. The math module does not have a long name. However, other modules can have lengthier names. In these cases, programmers use what is known as an alias to shorten and quickly reference the imported module throughout the program. An alias works like a nickname for the module. The keyword as is needed when assigning an alias for a module. MT is the alias that references the math module. So here, functions can now be called using MT instead of math. Many times in programming, there's a need for random numbers to be generated. Creating a random number in Python requires the use of another mathematical module from the Python standard library, the random module. As with all modules, it must be imported first, and then its pre-written functions can be used. An example of a function in this module is randint, which will randomly select an integer between two integers. We can write the statement random.randint a, b which will randomly select an integer between integer a and integer b, including a or b. The code below will print one random integer between 0 and 5, and that includes 0 and 5. Python has another useful ability with random. The command random.randRange allows you to select a random integer within a range, but also at certain intervals, unlike randint. In other words, let's say you want to output a random number between 10 and 50, but you only want even numbers to be randomly selected within that range. You would set up the print statement like this. We have the starting integer, the ending integer, and then here we have the interval, in this case by 2s, so we'd get 10, 12, 14, and so on.